Hi, so this is Elizabeth Warren's speech, video 2, page 2. Since Watergate, so that's in reference to the Richard Nixon's scandal, generation after generation of American politicians have attacked the very idea that our government can do anything right. So she's setting up a cause and effect relationship because of this event since Watergate. Okay, generation of American politicians have attacked the idea that government can do anything right. So because of this scandal, politicians attack the idea that the government can do anything right. And Ronald Reagan, another president, recall Ronald Reagan's famous line: "What are the 9 most terrifying words in the English language? I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So even referencing another president kind of could be expert testimony. And the expert testimony is saying, "I'm from the government, I'm here to help," as being, quote, terrifying, really shows where Warren is trying to take us, that the government could be terrifying. Even the president has said that the government could be terrifying. The use of the word terrifying, the diction, actually evokes a little bit of fear in the audience member. And so that's actually looking at pathos. But because this language, terrifying, is not Elizabeth Warren, it's Ronald Reagan, this still could be logos and looking at it from like an expert testimony kind of a view. So then she recaps, really? Government help is terrifying? Give me a break. Do you know what's actually terrifying? Hurricanes like Katrina and Maria are terrifying. So right here, what Warren is doing is she's kind of comparing, contrasting that the government is akin to hurricanes and natural disasters like Katrina, right? Which is why victims of natural disasters ask for government help. And then this whole paragraph looking at people growing old and broke is terrifying. People strongly support Social Security. Choosing between food and medicine is terrifying. So actually listing out, true events, actual events that maybe many Americans find as terrifying. She is comparing and contrasting this comment from Reagan, government is terrifying, to actual terrifying events. And by that comparison, kind of highlighting that the government should not be terrifying, but perhaps is being interpreted as terrifying to her audience. And then she kind of comes with and that's why American people rise up, take to the streets when Republicans try to cut back Medicare and Medicaid. So again, she is even acknowledging this divide between Republicans and Democrats, and her targeted audience is not Republicans, because she's even criticizing Republicans in this. And there's so much more we want to work on together, right? Americans want roads and bridges. They want power and water systems. They want top-notch economic systems. They want real cybersecurity and a military that defends our nation. And they want a government that can deliver those things. Right here, she's kind of calling on historical precedents that usually Americans want these things. And if you ask me, if you ask your peers, if you ask your parents or your neighbors or friends here in America, we probably would agree. Yeah, we want roads and bridges. Yeah, we want power and water systems. We don't want that to all of a sudden stop. Think of our infrastructure. It would go crazy. We want all these things. All these things are good and what the government should be providing. So this right here is, she's almost speaking truths that we would all agree with as things that she alone can provide. Government can be a powerful force for good, but only when it works for the people. And the American people understand that today it doesn't. So she's making a big, wide claim saying that all American people understand that the government doesn't work. And so she's recalling to that big gap, the 73% drop to 18%, and the distrust perhaps that came from Watergate and other, social and cultural traumas that Americans have had to face. Some of them from the government, right? So looking at some of the assassinations, but then also even some of the political scandals that have happened. All of these have tainted and perhaps scarred the American people. And she even acknowledges that. And here's the kicker, they're right? She echoes, I skipped a paragraph, excuse me. Our national crisis of faith, right? That echoing of that word crisis, that specific diction move evokes pathos in the audience, right? That fear. Our national crisis of faith in government boils down to the simple fact. Oversimplifying things can be fallacious. So let's take a look at what Warren is doing here. People don't trust their government to do the right thing. Why? This is a cause and effect relationship or a conditional statement. Why? Because they think the government works for the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected, and not for the American people. Right here, Warren is making some claims that some people think the government works for rich, powerful, and well-connected. And if you scroll down and love this parallel structure that she's doing, right? At a time when this country faces enormous challenges, government actively serves the richest and most powerful and turns its back on everything else. At a time of skyrocketing inequality and stagnant wages for the middle class, government is giving gargantuan handouts to the wealthiest Americans. At a time when mass incarceration grinds down the the human beings and destroys communities of color, our government is putting more cash into the for-profit prison industry. At a time when sea levels are rising and the health threats posed by climate change are accelerating by the day, our government is handing over both taxpayer money and federally protected land to fossil fuel industry. At a time of staggering drug prices and soaring out-of-pocket costs, our government tucks tail and runs away from serious challenges to big pharma and greedy insurance companies. And at a time of crippling student loan debt, our government is bending over backwards to help bogus for-profit colleges and student loan companies get richer by cheating students. So all of this right here, at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times Elizabeth Warren echoes and begins her statement similar. This right here is parallel structure, right? That's the balance of grammatical forms, or the balancing of ideas by restating the same grammatical structures. And right here, she's backing up her claim that the American government works for the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected, right? So at all these times, she's saying government actively serves the richest. Our government is giving gargantuan handouts. Our government is putting cash into the for-profit prison industry. Our government is handling taxpayer money and federally protected lands. She's handing them over to the fossil fuel industry. They're not challenging big pharma. They're bending over backwards to help for-profit colleges, etc. So right here, I might ask to see Elizabeth Warren's sources on where she got all these, but she's identifying 6 distinctive places where the government is, in fact, helping and working for the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected, and she lists them exclusively.